always ask at the player's desk. Ask them if they're giving away free play. Ask them if there's any promotions. The worst they're going to say is no, and you already are at no. You don't have what you're asking for in the first place, so you're not losing anything. Comps aren't free because you have to play, which that would cost you money. But those comps are basically there to get you to come back. I encourage anyone to get as much as you can out of the casino within the confines of the law and the rules of the program.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the SlotsFan Podcast. This show is all about interviewing slots influencers about their channels and going behind the scenes for their biggest wins, their tips, and basically benefiting from their experience being a slots influencer. And today we've got a fantastic guest. It's Dave from Gamble Smart. Dave, we just had your colleague Mark on a couple weeks ago, and it's always such a fascinating time chatting with you, and we're also grateful for all the work that you're doing in the space. So first of all, thank you so much for coming on the show, and really excited to ask you some questions today.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate being back. We have a lot of fun out here, and I see we kind of have the same background going on. That's pretty good.
Like we're in Vegas.
There it is. That's why I have this up, so it feels more like Vegas.
I like your background, though. The real slot machines are really cool touch.
It's so much fun to have. It's really a blast, especially when you're on those long meetings. I can just reach over and start hitting the button, just mute myself.
Well, Mark was telling us that he's actually like doing, that you run tons of spins through the machines, and it can be helpful to get a feel for some of the way these things that we talk about, like RTP and volatility, actually show up in practice over bigger sample sizes. So I'm sure it's some kind of a tax write-off or something for you guys, hopefully. Like we talked about before the interview, we started doing this like rapid fire interview question segment at the beginning of the show. The one we did with Mark was a blast. He was basically shooting down the most common gambling myths. And today we came up with a different set of questions for you, and it's all about comps and loyalty programs. I think this is another area of like the casino gambling space that isn't super well understood by a lot of people. And like we talked about, I'm going to try to do these rapid fire, but I think there'll be some in here that maybe we could get into in a bit more depth during the interview. And so I'll make sure to flag anything there, and we can revisit it.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Dave, these are the rapid fire questions all about comps and loyalty program. And these are from our viewers and some of the most common things that we hear on the channels and from real gamblers. So question number 1, is it true that comps are only for high rollers?
No, anyone can get comps.
Question 2, do you really need to lose big to get big comps?
No, actually, you don't even want to lose from a player perspective, from a budget perspective. Just doing your normal play. Don't think about winning. Don't think about losing. Just your normal play.
Next question. If I play longer, do I automatically get better comps?
Yes and no. So if you play longer, you are going to basically earn more comps. But are they better? Not necessarily.
I'm going to make a note of any ones that maybe we can do some follow-up questions about.
Sounds good.
Next question. Do casinos stop comping you if you win too much?
I have not seen a casino yet that does that. I've heard different people say that they've experienced this. I have not. I have not heard of anybody who has, and I know quite a people who gamble quite big.
I'm not sure I've actually heard of people winning too much playing slots. So I'm not sure that comes up too much. Next question. Will using a player's card lower your odds of winning?
The systems are completely separate. Player's card system and the computer itself that runs a slot machine are completely different.
Okay. Next question. Are comps actually free, or are we paying for them with our losses?
Essentially, you're playing for them with your pay. Comps aren't free because you have to play, which that would cost you money. But those comps are basically there to get you to come back.
So not necessarily based on your losses, but rather the amount that you're playing on the machine.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm happy to dive into that on how that all works from a simplified point of view, because we could be drawing charts all day long if we go into the complicated stuff.
I'm going to make a note of that one. Question 7, is tipping your host the key to getting better comps?
I personally only had a host a couple of times just as a fluke. I have never tipped them because my play pays their salary. So I knew there are some hosts out there who actually do get a base salary, but most hosts work on how much you bring in is how much you get paid.
But probably they don't have a switch that they can flip for people that tip them well.
The host can do a lot of things. The host's power is immense.
Okay.
But whether or not they're able to actually hey, I got a tip, so I'm going to make this happen more? Probably not. And then how much are you going to really tip them? Like, what's a tip that would be good for a host? Do I tip 1% of my play, 1% of my losses? Do I tip them $5,000? I'm not really seeing how a host tipping them would basically give you any advantage. However, I do really think that a gift to a host, maybe something that you've made, maybe something, hey, I was thinking of you, Matt, you're my host. I know you're from Vancouver, and I saw this little cute little thing when I was in Vancouver, so I brought it back for you. That to me is more of a personalized thing rather than giving them cash.
Very good answer. Next question. Is there any way to get banned from a loyalty program?
Oh, there's lots of ways.
Why don't we leave it at that?
Yeah, there's lots of ways to get banned from a program. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. If I share a machine or switched off, and I guess that means share a machine with someone else's card, does it hurt my comps?
If you share a machine with someone else's card in it, you're not getting those comps. That other person is getting those comps. So make sure to put your card in. And that's also a price that could actually sort of get you dropped out of loyalty program, is using other people's cards. It depends on the casino.
Okay. Do casinos spy on your play habits to determine your offers?
Spy is really the wrong word. It's marketing.
Track what you're doing.
They're watching everything from a data perspective. How much money you put in, how much money comes out, what your gameplay is like, what your bet range is like. All these things are recorded, and the casino uses that to say, this is how much in comps you get, or this is how much you don't get.
Is it true that paying to stay at the hotel that's at the casino will increase your offers that you'll get in the future?
Again, yes and no, because everything is done by points. So if I don't have a comped room and I purchase a room, let's say at New York, I'm getting those points onto my account, and that goes into a category called spend versus play. All these things are combined for your offers.
Will taking a break from playing at a casino reset your comps?
No, it will. How long of a break? Let's go with that first. How long of a break? A month, 2 months? Probably no impact. A year? Probably going to have an impact. And it's the exact same thing if you were to stop going to your local burger place and they have specials for, frequently you come, those are going to go away because you're not coming as frequently.
This next one's kind of related to that. If I played big for one day or one weekend, how long would I continue to receive offers before they'll just stop talking to you?
Before they'll stop completely? I have been to a casino 4 years ago in Indiana. I have still getting offers for that. I have not been back in 4 years. I'm still getting offers. Now, the offer's great. No, they're not great, but I'm still getting them.
Okay.
A long time.
Does playing this is a real question. Does playing without your card get you access to secret wins?
No, their card system, again, is completely separate than the actual system of the slot machine itself.
Okay. Next question. Do all casino loyalty programs use the same formula when it comes to determining your offers and comps?
They're all similar, but a lot of the times on the back end, you don't really know what those are. But essentially, coin in, coin out is the premier piece across all platforms.
Okay. And the final question, do players from out of town get more or better offers than locals based on like your address, I guess, in proximity to the actual location? Sometimes
they do, because they know that those locals are there. Those locals may not get as many room offers. So they may get more food offers and less room offers because the casinos know they don't need them. Out of towners will get more room offers than anything else because that wants to draw them back in to stay. So generally speaking, locals do get more food offers than room offers. But again, it varies by property a lot. Some places are very local specific and some are more traveler specific. Anything on the strip, more out of town visitor specific. Anything off the strip in Vegas, more locals focused.
Okay. I love those answers. Thank you so much for all the rapid fire questions and answers.
Anytime.
And I threw down a couple notes here that I think are worth going back and asking you more about. The one that stands out to me is there any way to get banned from a loyalty program? And it sounds like there is, and there's lots of ways. And maybe this is something that people can make sure that they're aware of so they don't inadvertently break a rule or do anything that might lose them some value that they've built up already in a program like that.
The only thing inadvertent you're going to do is some programs are very much against you using someone else's player card. You're playing on someone else's card. Now, the way to get around this usually is most programs offer a linked card system. So if you have a spouse or someone you're very close with, you can link those cards and you're both playing for one pool. Now, I don't recommend friends doing this because you're having one person gets that pool, not both. So one person has to make all those bookings and everything else. Okay. So generally it's couples, people, who would travel together and everything else. That would be the main focus of sharing that card. But getting banned is actually not hard because it's a user agreement like anything else. Read through, and I like using this one because a lot of people don't know this. Read through about buying a Ferrari. You agree not to do things to the car you're buying that you will own. You can't paint it certain colors. You can't wrap it certain colors. You can't do certain things, put certain advertisements. You can't do these things to the car you own. It's similar to the reward program. There are things you cannot do that will get you kicked out. Now, they're usually pretty extreme. Obviously, you're doing something like fighting if you're card sharing and they don't allow it. If you're doing some kind of scam, whether you're trying to sell comps or whatever else, and it does happen, whether you're selling your free play or something like that, that can get you thrown off a program. It is hard to do. These casinos want you there. And so anything you would do in your normal play would pretty much be fine. It's the things you go outside and try to scam the system in a way that is against the rules. And all these rules are written out. You can go read them on any casino's website. The player's card rules are completely transparent and out there to go through.
Have you ever heard of any stories like people trying to game loyalty programs? Or, you hear about this with like coupon and sweepstakes redemption programs and crazy stuff happening. Has anything like that happened in the casino space that you know of when it comes to loyalty programs?
As far as scams, not really, because they're really hard to scam now because now everything is digital. It used to be where you would get a coupon actually for free play or a coupon for your food credit and all that. And that was when the coupon stopped because everyone was starting to really get good at photocopying them, changing dates and all that. And they would still work in the system or they wouldn't work and you'd be able to complain about it and they'd still give it to you. Modern day, no. Now, as far as gaming the system, I do it and I encourage it. I encourage people to get everything within the terms and conditions. Absolutely. But I encourage anyone to get as much as you can out of the casino within the confines of the law and the rules of the program, because they're taking from us, we can take back from them.
Yeah, maybe on that point, it would be great if we could get your top tips for fairly gaming the system, or you could say getting your max value out of what you're entitled to. I mean, I think we're all pretty clear on the fact that this is a rebate we're getting generally on money that we're spending at the casino. So with that in mind, it's important to get as much of that back as you can. If you enjoy spending time in the casino, it's going to let you play more or subsidize your costs. So what are your top few tips that people can really put into practice to get more out of the money that they may already be spending at the casino?
One of them is tier matching. Tier matching used to be a great lucrative thing. You can still do it. But if you hold status at any casino, always try to play that status up. Some places you can actually find a path, and it's really complicated to do. But essentially, if you start at a decent base, let's say MGM Pearl, which MGM program in my mind is pretty much the most premier program because they haven't diluted it. It's fairly standard and fairly strict, and everyone else tries to emulate it. So if you have Pearl, let's say at MGM, which is only one above the absolute minimum, you try to farm that around and see who's tier matching. Maybe your local casino tier matches. You just keep trying to go up in tier and get those different programs and different sort of perks. Now, a lot of times you don't get things like, the free cruise or that free money, free dining credit, all that, because it has to be earned. But you can get things like the percentage match for gambling. So MGM specifically, as you go up in tier, your percent bonus on your play goes up. So it can be a huge lucrative into earning more points by getting that bonus. That's the whole top stay on top because they keep using those bonuses. Now, tier matching is harder to do now than it was, but I encourage everyone to do it. Try to find a way to tier match all the way up to the top. It's impossible, but if you do figure out how to do it, let me know because I want to do it too.
It's like trading up from a paperclip to like
it's
a
like
speedboat or something.
Exactly. Same thing.
What's the process
thing,
like for people that aren't super familiar with loyalty programs? Like, is that something you're going in and talking to the player rewards desk and asking for that kind of stuff and showing them your card from another property sort of thing?
Always when I go to a new property, I ask, do you tier match? And I have all my cards with me. I keep them in a little foldable thing that's about that big, and I have them all with me at all times. And I'll be like, do you match this? Do you match that? Do you match that? Finding one that will get matched isn't really like a win all be all. But at the same time, if I were to get matched in some place like Hard Rock, and I can get matched maybe up a notch from where I would actually if I just got the brand new card, or maybe a couple of notches up, then that benefits me, the player. It doesn't really affect the casino very much. Another great tip I have is ask. A lot of times they will tier match just because you asked. It may not be an official program because you're not really getting anything for that. You're not getting the free cruise, like I said, because that comes from play, but you're just getting a little bit more status at that casino. So it might mean cutting the line at the buffet, or, having access to the nice towels at the pool, things like that.
Or did you say in some cases like earning a higher, like points at a higher rate based on how much you're spending than the entry level would get you? That
tier bonus to move you up like that.
Okay.
Another thing I really like to tell people is always ask at the player's desk. Ask them if they're giving away free play. Ask them if there's any promotions. Just ask. The worst they're going to say is no. And you already are at no. You don't have what you're asking for in the first place, so you're not losing anything. But we as people are shy to ask about free things. Ask. That's the best thing to do, is always ask.
I've heard that from so many people that we've interviewed on this show. And I totally agree, myself included. It seems like people are reluctant to go and ask because they just feel like they're going to get shot down or it's not worth doing or something. But it's funny how many people I've talked to have said, oh, we just asked and we got... they gave us stuff, like literally just for going up and asking.
Something else I try to tell people, and I've seen this, other people do this who are more disciplined than I am, they will create a spreadsheet of all the offers they get. They will actually put which property, which offer, what day, and they'll break it down on their trip. So they'll hit all these casinos to get all these offers that are just free. You don't have to stay there. You just get $15 in free play. You don't have to stay there, but you get a free shirt or $20 off the buffet, or maybe match play or something like that. Keeping track of your offers, or even Googling before you go and seeing what's out there, is a huge benefit. Find out all the catchphrases that are free to where you can just say it and they'll get it for you. Like at Downtown Grand, if you say David Mark from Gamble Smart sent you, you get $15 in free play and up to $50 in match play. There's several of those things around. You just got to know what they are and do them.
Well, that's a good plug. Specifically, people should go and do that.
A little bit of a plug there.
Yeah. I also forgot at the beginning, which is something I often do. SlotsFan Podcast is a great channel to subscribe to because we get to talk to people like Dave and Mark, and we release a new interview every week. So please subscribe to our channel. And even more importantly, go to Dave's channel. We have a link in the description. Gamble Smart, if you're interested in learning more about playing responsibly and honestly like having more fun and avoiding some of the pitfalls that are pretty common. Gamble Smart's the best channel out there for content like this, and I really recommend checking out and subscribing to Dave's channel. It's really worth it. So now that that's out of the way, we have a couple more of these. I was hoping you could tell us, when I asked the question, are comps actually free, or are we paying for them with our losses? I think that kind of idea came up in a few of these questions, which is like, it's not actually coming from your losses, right? They are rating your player behavior, regardless of your win and loss, probably, about how much you're putting through the machines and what they can tell about how you're typically playing. Can you break that down for us in a bit more detail and tell us like what actually goes into, you mentioned a couple different factors, what goes into how they rate you as a player and therefore how they determine the offers that they give you?
So I'm going to go with the simplified form because we could be going all day long on talking about this and going way over people's head. In the most simple form, you have coin in and coin out. How much money I put in the machine versus how much money I took out of the machine. Does not matter if that's a negative or a positive. It just matters how much churn I had in there. And the churn is if I put $100 in and I play on that $100, let's say at $3 a spin, for an hour and I cash out $100 while my coin in, coin out is 100, my churn could be thousands. It could be tens of thousands even. If I wasn't disciplined enough to take out when I hit a huge play and I played it back down, all that play in between is what the casino looks at. They're looking at that churn, that amount of play. Now, if we want to get a little more complicated, because I know there's going to be people out there, what about this? What about that? Also, what matters is your theoretical loss, your theoretical win-loss, which is how much you're expected to win or lose during your trip and or day. All that is kept account of. How much you play at, your bet denomination and your bet level. If I'm playing at a $10 table and I'm betting $30 a spin, or sorry, $30 a hand, that would coordinate to a slot machine of being on a 10-cent denomination and betting $30 a spin. Now, the difference being is if I'm at a $5 table or $10 table playing $30, my average is at least going to be $10 at the very least. On that slot machine, my coin average, although is the exact same, that denomination kicks into it. So my player rating is going to be at $10 versus the slot machine where I'm at 10 cent.
Okay.
And they're not so keen about your bet dollar amount. I've been playing for a very long time. I play a lot of $5 top dollar, which is $10 a spin. And I do play a lot of other ranges of game, but my actual, what I'm rated at is still $1. And that's fine. Don't try to seek that out. Don't try to be that high roller player because it's not worth it to chase those comps. Comps come from our regular play and entertainment and enjoyment of the games. Not something we chase because it's a losing factor. You're never going to be able to bet to where you're going to get those comps up high enough and walk away with a profit.
For sure. I'm curious about that point because, you know, like you're in your example, you put $100 in and you're running good and maybe you're just breaking even for hours and hours and you're playing, you know, you're getting a fantastic session and tons of entertainment. It sounds like that could earn you like really good comps based on a high amount of churn. But I'm curious, does the casino, because you might not have more than $100 in your pocket, the casino, it seems like the casino would want to identify if you have many thousands of dollars in your pocket so that if you hadn't run so good, would you continue putting money in? And I'm curious, like, do they care at all about that money in, money out, like net value? Or is it just a function of like people lose over the time? And if you actually do, if you are able to keep up a high volume, it is just the case that you are also losing to a certain amount. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like I said, I like using its simplified methods so that 100 in, 100 out is super easy for people to go. When you go into the rest of that of, you're talking about theoretical win-loss versus your day versus your trip, of what they're expecting you to play versus what they're expecting the comps to be versus what they're expecting your wins and losses to be. This whole thing is extreme. Like, we could be drawing diagrams for an hour on what is the whole aspect of it, and every casino does it slightly different. Coin in, coin out is just the easiest thing to keep track of. It's something you or I can go to a web page of the casino and see our coin in, coin out on our win-loss statement. We cannot get our theoretical win-loss. That has to be done on the back end. If you have a host, they can most likely get that to you if they're willing. The player's desk will not give it to you.
Interesting.
These are things that are complicated on the back end. And it's just one of those things where I don't believe in keeping track of something that I can't readily see. So I try to tell people, have fun, enjoy the games. If you're really concerned with what you're thinking of what the casino's looking at, look at your coin in, coin out, because that's what the biggest focus that we can see is.
And I guess there are ways to, you know, if you're working as we should be with a bankroll, like an entertainment budget for this, there are promotions and stuff where you can get more points, more bang for your buck when it comes to like spending the amount that you've chosen to lose or to play with.
So anytime, and I love telling people about this because I got a lot of friends who will do the multipliers for Caesars, the 7x, the 10x, the 15x multipliers. So when they have those multipliers, that is a great time to try to advance your tier, but you have to think about what points are worth if they're giving away point multipliers. And I always come back to MGM as being the gold standard for Players Club, because look at how many point multipliers that they do. They don't really have a day of point multipliers. They do 2x on holiday reward shopping points, and they have a tier accelerator, but that's only after you've gambled so much. There's not really a multiplier that MGM does in Vegas that much, but Caesars does a multiplier quite often. And that's evaluating where and how much a point is worth. So points are worth more at MGM because the program is more pure, and over at Caesars, they're giving away points because those point systems are a little bit more diluted.
Okay. I'm curious if you remember, like, does anything stand out as the best experience that you had with a redemption or a period of time where you were playing a bunch and you really took advantage of what's possible with comps? We talked to people who just sounds like they have so much fun kind of planning their trips around free hotel stays. And sometimes
that's one of the best parts.
Yeah. And like shows and other, even like free play and stuff's great, but the comps, I hear a lot of people say, like, choose a property that you like spending time at away from the tables, because you're getting massages, you're doing all this stuff. Does anything stand out for you as something that was particularly memorable that was possible because of comps and doing this loyalty program?
Back when I was playing at Caesars, I started out at Caesars. That was my first loyalty program. I'm now very much an MGM player because of their great system they have. But over at Caesars, when I was there, before they changed their whole system and diluted it with the multiple diamond levels, it was really just basic. You couldn't really go much places. It was just, here is the system. You had 5 levels and that was it. And when I was doing that, I was getting great points. I was getting great offers, and I would get great rooms. Caesars Palace, for a lot of people, is unobtainable for rooms.
Yeah,
they're expensive.
Yeah, man.
It's expensive. But back, 15, 20 years ago now, when I would go to Caesars Palace, I would get one of the great rooms in the Julius or Augustus towers that were, amazing. That was brand new back then. And so that really sort of shines to me all the time of my flight got canceled. I had to go back to the hotel and say, look, I need another room for a night because my flight got canceled. Can you help me out? Well, I was a loyal customer. I had lots of points. They didn't even charge me my points, which they could have quite easily. I've been happy with that. But they gave me a really great, I think it was the Julius Jr. Suite. Wow. Bathroom big enough for 30 people. I mean, it was amazing.
That's so cool. That's smart,
and that was
though,
what
man.
stands out to me.
One thing like that, and and you're telling that story for years to come to your friends, even on a podcast one day, just for that free hotel room.
I haven't stayed at Caesars in about easily 15 years, but that still stands out to me as one of the greatest times, and what I consider to be when everything was more for the player and less for the property, and it's definitely converted more toward the property now.
Seems like definitely on the strip that's the case. Like when you're downtown and off strip, it seems like there's more of that. Like that's such a common thing. People say, like, it used to be so much more hospitality, and now it just feels like on the strip, It's like get everything they possibly can out of you in a weekend.
Every fee possible.
Don't care if you come back or not.
And that's a lot of what it feels like to me too. No one's alone in that. Downtown definitely still has that same focus it did, more on the player. The programs have changed a little bit from what they used to be. You used to be able to sit down, and I remember doing this when I was young, at quarter roulette, $20 at quarter roulette. We would be there for hours, and we'd get comped at the buffet. Was it a wow buffet with tons of crab and salmon? No, but it was a free meal.
Yeah.
And that was the pit boss just handing out free buffets. They can't really do that anymore. They don't have that power. It's all about the computer now and about your amount of play, number of hands, dollars per hour per those hands, and that's what everything is focused around. So they took away that human aspect from the pit bosses, where the dealers could whisper to the pit boss, hey, this guy's been playing a long time. He mentioned he was hungry and he might leave and go somewhere else. How about we compliment the buffet? All these things that used to be way more Vegas and now have really drawn back. Now the higher limit players, when you go $25 or up per hand playing, they still have everything taken care of. Those pit bosses have a lot more flexibility, but definitely not as much as they used to. The hosts are relied on so much more for that, for those high limit players.
I meant to ask before, and it seems like in so many parts of the world, we're seeing a lot of interesting marketing tech innovations, like customization through AI that's feeding you really customized ads and all this stuff. And Have you noticed anything like that happening when it comes to casino marketing or player programs and how they're working? I mean, do you know if they're doing anything that uses AI or other predictive models like that to really like craft custom offers for each person?
I haven't seen anything direct because the casinos use a really good marketing system. Casinos are probably going to be the last ones to adopt AI for that purpose, but there's also probably smaller, more dynamic casinos out there, maybe one-offs, some tribal casinos who are more eager to adopt new technology. Your large corporations shy away from things that don't make them money. So as soon as facial recognition was a thing, casinos adopted it so fast. As soon as RFID was a thing, casinos put it in their chips so they could keep track of different chips across different tables. There's also certain systems in card readers and all that to where the display comes up and shows you what card was played, like in Baccarat. These things are technology where the casino adopts quickly because it speeds up the game, increases their margins, and protects them. Things like AI for marketing, I think, are going to be adopted slower for the bigger corporations. But like I said, smaller casinos, one-offs, they're going to jump on it, and you're going to start to see things way more targeted towards you. If you happen to, let's say, eat at this one restaurant, then they're going to say, oh, look, this restaurant's their favorite restaurant. Let's give them a little bit more food credit this time and see if they bite. And if they bite, we know, okay, that worked for them. And now the next time, you may not get as much food credit because they know you bid on the first one. So it's this whole game you play with trying to, what obstacles you're getting, all this. I see it as being a huge game of chess in the future. I just don't know how prevalent it is right now.
Yeah, it seems like in some ways land-based casinos are slow to adopt new things like influencer marketing. They seem a little slow by and large to embrace. But, you know, to your point earlier where you're still getting direct mail from a casino in Indiana that you visited once 4 years ago, seems like there may be some like wasted marketing spend that could be improved with technology like that, perhaps. Especially still getting mailers, because mailers are expensive. I know. I think it's still the most expensive thing, part of marketing in the casino, land-based casino industry is like direct mailers. But
direct mailers apply to older people over email, over apps, over those little pop-ups you get. So you see a actual offer and you get it in your hands, you're able to page through it and look through all those offers, and you have a little more connection with it. And so you see a lot of properties still doing that. Like MGM, I never receive a single thing from MGM in the mail. Like once in a while, I will. Once in a year, I'll get something. But Hard Rock, I get it all the time.
Interesting.
Hard Rock, Rockford, Illinois. I get mailers from every single month, and I went there once.
Well, you say that the older demographic responds well to mailers. I was at your meet and greet in Vegas, and I saw how that demographic was responding to you and Mark. And so I do think that influencer marketing is an effective way of reaching those people as well, based on my experience with your guys' audience.
Definitely is. And that goes along with the people who have money to use for entertainment. Younger people generally don't have a larger budget for entertainment. Older people generally have a larger budget for entertainment because they're older. They're more advanced in their career. Maybe they're retired. Maybe they have this money set aside. They don't have kids' expenses. They don't have these things. So those older people are definitely the core group of gamblers right now, especially in our market. Most slot channels can say the same thing. It's really 40 and up, which, you know, I'm in that group too. And so it's really great to actually relate to some of these people of what they're looking for. And it's the same thing I was looking for as well.
That's really interesting. Thanks for all the insight on comps. Personally, I'm like, I need to push myself to even use my card just because I'm so lazy. It's kind of like airplane rewards. And then once I start going, I'm like, this is like, I wish I'd been doing this the whole time. It's really fun.
Always use your card.
It adds up faster than you think, and you're totally leaving money on the table if you're not using a player's card. So basically, always use your player's card. Yeah.
Always. It ticks Mark off sometimes. We'll go into a new property and we'll look around and be like, oh, I want to play that. I want to play that. Nope, I got to go to player's card first.
Yeah.
And I will not play without my player's card, because if I'm going to play, I'm going to be rewarded for that in some fashion. They're going to give me some comp because of my play. If I don't use a player's card, they never knew I was there. I'm never getting anything. It doesn't matter whether I win $20, lose $20, win $10,000, lose $10,000. If they don't know you're there, you're not getting it. Now, in the winning 10,000, if you were to do that in one play, they would know you're there.
Well, we were talking about AI, and this is another part of the space that we're seeing it being used really effectively is like, once you use a player's card, you're like a known player to the casino, and responsible gambling is part of what AI is doing really well in terms of, this is especially true online, but it's tracking and identifying problem gambling signs much earlier and in a more effective way. And online, obviously, everything's tracked because you're logged in, but so many people aren't like known players to the casino and wouldn't benefit from some of those responsible gambling safeguards that are in place when it comes to regulated gambling.
I would say that most people play with a player's card.
Yeah.
They may not play with it all the time, but most people do. It's kind of been around long enough now to where pretty much everyone has a player's card. The AI tracking around responsible gaming was something I heard about just a few years ago at G2E for the first time. And these casinos are actually, and manufacturers of these games are trying to find out before someone gets out of hand. So beyond responsible gaming becomes problem gaming. We like to tell everybody, gamble responsibly. And AGA just now launched a huge thing about this from Play Smart from the start. It's a huge initiative to try to get people to do the things that we've been saying this whole time. Budgeting, knowing the games, knowing what you're doing, making sure it's for entertainment. And that player system doesn't really support that right now, but they're focusing on when it gets a step further. And I would really like to see them step on a more responsibly gaming. I was actually just in Vancouver. I went to Grand Villa Casino, Park Casino right there. And you guys have this Game Sense interface in all of your slot machines, and it is amazing. Right from there, I can access different items about responsible gaming, and it's right in front of my face. It's not hidden. It's not just a little pamphlet right next to the cage or right next to the player's desk. You guys have a whole little booth about it. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is what every casino needs to strive for, to cement that responsible gaming.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the case that the casino industry understands that it's more sustainable and actually more profitable to help people not get to the point where they're going to stop playing for the rest of their life, and not to mention all the other social costs that come along with problem gambling. And it's definitely a real risk. So it's cool to see stuff like this getting more. It's almost like, they care. Like you said before, they adopt stuff that impacts their bottom line in the short term the most. And I think people are coming around to the idea that it's actually it's better for everybody, including their bottom line, to take this stuff seriously. We're so grateful for all your experience and all, how generous you are with all your insights. So thank you so much for coming on the show again. And I just want to tell everyone again, Gamble Smart is a must follow channel. There's no end to the amount of value that you're going to get by subscribing to Dave and Mark's channel. So I really encourage you to use the link in the description and head over and check out some of their content. But Dave, thank you so much for another awesome interview.
Thank you, Matt. Really appreciate being here anytime. We love talking, as you know, and we love helping out people in the community and growing that community of better gamblers.